we built it for people like us, right? We built it for you guys, the athletes at home, the competitors in their backyard. And even I think about my 16-year-old self, or when COVID happened, if I weren't able to play my senior year of college lacrosse, I'm sorry, high school lacrosse, just because, what's going on out there doesn't allow you to compete. There should be nothing in the way between you and what you want to showcase or compete in.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Stay Tranquilo episode. We are here with Brando Caveiro, who has an app that we are going to talk about today and get into some deep diving about that whole process, building that out and talking a little bit about what the app entails. But before we get started, please, the floor is yours.
For sure,
Give
man.
everyone a little bit about yourself.
Well, dude, first of all, thanks for having me here.
Yes,
I mean,
sir.
I see, as I just mentioned when the cameras were off, I had to catch you guys before you blew up. What you guys have been doing since day one, giving Miami a platform to, really showcase whatever talent, skills, and, passions there are here. It means a lot. I know I've always seen it, I've always supported it. You guys are growing, so being here, just had to give a quick shout out before we got started.
Appreciate it.
But yeah, I'm building, hey guys, my name's Brando, founder of GotGame. And what we're doing at GotGame is kind of like TikTok and the Olympics had a baby. It's a gamified, scalable video challenge platform for today's athletes to connect and compete in skill-based competitions.
Oh, yeah.
It's a little bit of that.
Yeah. So before we get into how this app came to life, and I really want to get into the details. I know that was like your elevator pitch kind of thing, one liner. But obviously, it's a complex thing that you're building, right? It's not as simple as I guess you kind of put it, right? So I definitely want to get into depth on that, but I want to also start from the beginning, right? And just like your overall journey into who you are today and where the inspiration for the app came. So you went to St. Thomas the Apostle,
That's
right?
We went to the same
Go
middle
Tornadoes,
school back in the day.
and then Columbus as well.
Greatest school in the world.
Talk to me about that. That journey of going to private school. The friends that you made, just that overall journey, and how that's led you to where you are today.
Yeah, like most people, like yourself, and like the people behind the camera, I'm very competitive. Always have been, and playing sports since the womb. And so I think being involved in the stuff I always liked, which was sports, then started to, wanted to express myself creatively. I did that with, music at times, sometimes drawing as a child, or even just, on CCNN back in the Columbus days. So trying to just find my route is, I think, what people owe themselves. And so I found an interesting lane, majoring at Florida State University in information communication technology. It's basically just a long way of saying half of my classes were coding, half of the classes were focused on campaigns and digital marketing. And so I found that was a cool way for me to express creativity in a way that, you can actually make a real career off of this. And so that's what I did. And I graduated Florida State, worked at right down here, Publicis Group.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and I still do. right there by the corner of Coco Walk, and basically managing major brands' websites at first. Now, uh, Jeep social media, and so organizing photo shoots, getting together with influencers was really cool. So learning a lot, of how managing site campaigns to social media campaigns, and there was one stat that like flew by my desk one day. It was 55% of TikTok's 2 billion users are interested in competing in sports-related challenges on social, and that kind of aligned with something that I always out of my back mind, when I graduated college, me and my buddies would, when we had our fantasy draft, we would always try to come up with a competition to decide the order. And when we all graduated, went to different places, it was harder to do that. And it didn't make sense to me that at the rate that, Fortnite was growing and all these video games were growing, when people are able to compete digitally all from across the world,
Right.
that we weren't able to do the same thing when it came to sports. Sports has been alive since the beginning of time, and so is competition. So I feel like there wasn't enough innovation in this space. And when I saw that last stat, that was kind of like the cherry on top to let's see what's going on here, And so it started with a question.
Yeah, and it's interesting, right? Because you study all, the coding and all these things, probably not knowing that you're going to get into what you ultimately, have gotten into today. And then you go and you work for an agency, you get these statistics and you start seeing all these things, and it's like the stars start lining up, right?
Yeah,
Because, for me, I had Stay Tranquilo, 5 years ago, what is really when I started it with like the podcast and just getting active on social media and just kind of promoting a mantra is really, how it began. And it still is the foundational
That's
piece
right.
of what we do.
Mhm.
But I didn't really know what I wanted it to be, it's been around for 5 years, but it wasn't like a business for 5 years. It was
Mhm.
just a slogan and something that I like to promote. And it was like, all right, it's a platform, right? And what I choose to do with it is to be determined. And then, I started getting into marketing kind of by accident. I studied exercise science in college.
Mhm.
So, it doesn't really align with what I'm, with what I'm doing now, but very similar to you. I love sports. So that's kind of where
Yeah.
I wanted to plug myself into. Long story short, obviously don't end up working in sports, start getting in the marketing stuff just because I could see the power of it
Mhm.
for the sake of building Stay Tranquilo, but also just like, I'm like, damn, I'm good at this, right? Like I'm creative.
Mhm.
I'm a creative thinker. So how can I apply this for other brands and other companies that want to do it? So I started doing the freelance marketing work. Then I started working for an agency. And then that's where things started clicking. Why? Because I started understanding the business side of this world. So when I started seeing, okay, brands want to be creative. Brands want to reach audiences, right? But they want to do it in a creative and culturally relevant way.
Right.
So then I started understanding that, and I'm like, okay, this is interesting. I have this platform in Stay Tranquilo. People want to reach the U.S. Hispanic market. My name is a very U.S. Hispanic kind of name in terms of like Spanglish. People understand it
Yeah.
if you speak Spanish, and even if you don't, you can still kind of understand it. So I'm like, damn, I have a podcast. I have this platform. Now I can see where there's market demand, similar to how you saw with those statistics, and I can use this to build something.
Right.
So it's funny that you say that because you found all these like connection points along the way to help inform a decision that you now have this app.
For sure, man. Yeah, it's like, how do you stay true to your identity, right? And
Right.
this is like an ongoing thing, but provide value to people, and use it. I think it's different, but very similar, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
you always start with a question and an idea, and
Yeah,
every idea is a
exactly.
bad one before it's a good one,
Right.
And so that's what we have to figure out, and that's something that now it becomes, you're learning. This is more than an idea.
Right.
You kind of have to be an entrepreneur
Exactly.
now,
Yeah,
So it's like,
exactly.
okay, all right, cool.
It changes the dynamic of things.
Yeah, and so it's like, okay, so let's build something, let's create something, and then let's test it.
Right.
And it took me a while to really figure out what should be on the app and how people should interact with challenges. But what gave me the most clarity was putting out our beta, right, and then
Mm-hmm.
testing it. All right, iterate, let's change it up, let's test it again. And I feel like that's similar with what Stay Tranquilo does,
Yeah,
right? You
of
guys
course.
put
A
on
lot
some
of it's
content.
testing and learning.
You have different shows, and
Mm-hmm.
they're all amazing, but you figure out which ones you
Exactly.
want to maybe put some more focus on.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we can definitely relate from a creative standpoint.
Yeah.
Every bad idea starts
Yeah.
before a good idea.
100%. So you then realize like there's a market demand, there's an opportunity to build something in the space, right? You saw, hey, there's no sports, digital connection, competition, and kind of bridging those gaps together to be able to put together this app. So when you come up with this idea, then what was that process to say, hey, how do I build an app? How do I do this? How do I get this live? How do I build this beta? What was that process like? Were you consulting with people? How did you go about building that from inception?
For sure. I mean, look, man, no one can do anything by themselves. And that's everyone needs to keep that in mind, because it can seem like impossible to complete something that's in your dreams, because you're thinking you're gonna be the only one who can do it, and that's not a matter of the fact, right? So starting with the idea, had to still do my 9 to 5, and
of course,
still do.
Right.
Gotta treat yourself first, right? Take care of yourself, and that's what I was doing at first. But then, in my free time, I was always interested in creativity, so. I learned about Figma. Figma is like where you can kind of design concepts for an app, and now it's goddamn even easier. Excuse my language. With AI and stuff. But so I just started daddling with different designs. I'm a huge proponent of if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So leveraging what a homepage, what a profile looks like on TikTok, on Instagram. Let's borrow a lot, but like what makes us different, and that's when it came down to structured competition. There's so many different ways to compete, right? How fast you can do something is different from how long you can hold something, which is different from how many of one thing can you do within a certain amount of time. And all of that provided clarity when we went to beta testing, right? So I hired a team in India. I learned a lot through that process. I learned what not to do when you're hiring people, and what to do when you want to find, people that align with your goals and your vision and your work ethic. So there's people that come and go, right? When you're on this journey, but the people that provide that value and are really, capable of seeing the end goal, those are the ones you want to stick by you. And so I learned a lot about managing people. Obviously, as a project manager, I had some of that experience, but now I'm delving into, I'm not coding the app, right? I learned some code in college, but I'm not coding this thing. So now I need to manage a team that's coding it. All right, I designed the first iteration of it. Now I need to manage the person who's going to, design the future iterations of it. So I think I've learned more through that process alone than any masters could have taught me.
Yeah.
So, experience is the king of
100%.
Of teaching, for sure.
You mentioned the fact that you learned what not to do in that process with the coding developers, and you had to hire people overseas, obviously, because it's more cost effective,
Right.
considering budget restrictions and all that. What was it that you learned in that process directly from hiring that? Because what did you use, like an Upwork or
that's exactly
Fiverr?
what I used.
Yeah,
Upwork was the first.
So what did you learn from that, and what was kind of like some of the obstacles you faced when you did that?
Yeah, first one off the bat is, and I probably should have leveraged my knowledge in marketing for this, but being very clear with what you want. And that might seem like obviously, but it's no, the more detailed the brief, and if there's questions within the brief, or something that doesn't make sense, or it's a little too broad for the team, it's the team that's asking questions about that broad thing that you want to take. So that first time I did it, I only interviewed about 2 different development teams, and they both were like, "Yeah, we'll get it done in 6 months, no problem. It looks good to us." And that caused delays. It caused a product that wasn't amazing, but it was enough to get us off the ground. What I've learned now, when we're building the final version of GotGame, I've hired 6 or 7 different development. I'm sorry, interviewed 6 or 7 different development firms or agencies, and the one that asked the most questions and then was the most diligent about everything and every design and every idea we had in the brief, that's who I wanted with us, because they were thinking critically about things that we had thought of, but even taking it a step further, right? When you welcome questions and feedback and critical thinking with your idea, that's how you can get to the real meat and bones of your product. And like, okay, we want all the bells and whistles eventually, but what do we eventually want to launch with, just so we can prove our next milestone, and then now it makes sense to reinvest and get to the next milestone. So I spoke a lot there, but basically what I'm getting at is it's trimming the fat, but it's also when it comes to someone you want to build something with, being so careful and really just very honest with them and what they want. And if you feel they're not being honest with you, you owe it to yourself to at least interview someone else or run it by advisors as well. So
Yeah.
I'm sure you definitely have a
No,
lot of
for
people
sure.
you look up to and advise you. And I think it's critical for to have mentors, but to also be mentors to others. So
Exactly.
you learn both ways.
No, 100%. And right now, is it just a one-man operation in terms of you plus the the developers?
We've grown. Yeah. So we beta tested that product at Columbus, Florida State University, UF, number of different campuses here in Florida, and it was just awesome to see kids like talking shit and like trying to beat each other in front of my eyes. That was like that's what gets me up every day. It was finally seeing people interact with something that used to be just in your dreams. Obviously, the product has had a lot, of ways to improve since then. But from there, I was able to pick up, head of user research, right? He taught me how critical it is to beta test it. And so he was there with me when we went to Columbus, when we went to Florida State, asking the right questions, or even sometimes not asking questions and just seeing how they interact with the app and what can we, take from this experience and jot down so it's going to improve the product in the future. He was crucial, right? I learned a lot from him, and he still is with us. His name is Caesar, as well as so we have the development team now based in South Africa, and then we built a team of a sales biz dev team.
Okay, cool.
That was originally interns for the company, and there were many interns. We only selected 2 to stick with us on the full-time team because they demonstrated capability of working that work ethic, that that wants to succeed for the app, for what is our baby. So that is our team right now, sales biz dev team. We have the head of user research. In due time, we'll bring on a CTO, right? Someone who's going to actually lead that development, because it's certainly not going to be me, and I don't want it to be a team that is so far away, right? Someone that I can literally just call up at any time. So working with the hours has been a bit of a challenge when it was India or South Africa. But that's our team right now, and a team of advisors that, for financial reasons or fundraising or really just feedback or product development are there for me. Amazing people in this Miami tech space. It's been exciting to see it grow and hopefully be a part of that growth and get back to
like
it.
you said, it's impossible to be a one-man show, running an operation. Especially as you continue to grow. It's about putting the right pieces together, bringing in the right people that are going to just continue to help you take that next step, because you can only take it so far, and you bring in another person, then the collective can only take it so far. And it's about building the infrastructure so that you can grow.
Right.
So you have a full-time job, right? And a common, theme, you could say, with our audience is we all aspire to do something maybe outside of our 9 to 5s, right? And we understand the necessities that come with a 9 to 5. From, you have your obligations for your job, you have to pay your bills, you have to make a living. It would be great for us all to just go chase our dreams and do that full time, but you don't have that. No one has that luxury, essentially, because you got to make money, right? So how do you juggle, having a 9 to 5 job while also, building this out?
Man, that's honestly been the most challenging part of all of this, because, I do love what I do, but I owe it to myself to really just, it's not going to work at least I tell myself, it's not going to work when I'm married. It's not going to work when I have children or stuff to look out for. So this is the time, right? And so I do tell myself after work, right, 9 to 5, but that 9 to 5 is typically a 9 to 6 or 7. So that means from 7 until further notice, I'm working on GotGame. And so that's been, something to get used to, because now my weekends are traded for GotGame time. Going out on dates, not as much as I used to, because there's something here and I really owe it. And
these are the dates you go on.
These are the dates. I traded dates with girls on Hinge and whatnot to dates with potential investors, advisors, and people that could help provide value. Whether it's just going to a Tech Tuesday, a little happy hour, and getting to know people
of course
in the Miami tech ecosystem, or some of the more serious one-on-one conversations.
Mm-hmm.
Or even doing this with you right now. But
Right.
I think everyone, if they have that, something is calling to them. My greatest fear in life is looking back and be like, what if?
Right.
And now I can be at peace knowing, we're going to see this through, and I will never think that. So I think every creator goes through that and needs. Hopefully that's helpful. I don't like giving advice because I think everyone has a very unique way to get to where they want to go. But those are some things that help me.
Yeah, no, for sure. And you alluded to the fact of like investors. So right now, your 9 to 5 is essentially funding the business.
Yeah, that's right. But you're currently in the midst of a friends and family round.
Okay.
So
Nice.
this is just enough to get us, some legal fees and finish development. So
Okay.
implementing all of that initial user feedback is what we're currently raising for. So just enough to get up off the ground and go live with the final version that can support cash prize challenges, sponsor challenges, and we're going to launch 3 different formats of challenging. There's so many different ways to compete. Right now we're going to focus on 3, and you got to crawl before you run. So,
Yeah, 100%.
So right now in the midst of a family and friends funding round. And then when we launch this bad boy in Q1 of 2025, coming right up, we're going to be having a pre-seed round, which is in the millions. So
okay, so that was gonna be my next question. Let's say I'm someone that wants to start an app, right? And I don't have the funds to be able to start it up. What does that pre-seed process look like? Or how are you finding investors? How are you kind of getting these connections to potentially raise this capital?
Yeah.
And how much capital are you willing to raise at a specific valuation, right? So you have to set a valuation on this to be able to raise a specific amount of capital while giving up a certain amount of equity, right?
That's right.
Because one of the biggest challenges when raising capital is this is your baby. How much of your baby are you willing to give up for how much money, right?
Yeah.
And it's like a give and take, right? Because I'll give you $2 million, but I'm going to take 80% of the company. That might not be the best decision.
That's a bad deal, at
right?
least for us right now.
Yeah. So talk to me a little bit about that and that process and how you come to a valuation on a pre-seed round where you necessarily aren't generating a ton of funds yet, right? Through user generated.
And we're not,
it's in the beginning phases of this, right? It's in the infancy stages, and a lot of companies do raise at this point, right? Where they may not have proof of concept or they may not have revenue yet. They're still able to raise millions of dollars. So how do you go about that? What does that look like?
Yeah, I think it only makes sense to fundraise after you have shown proof of concept. You prove people care, some traction, right? So we did some beta tests. We got the metrics. We have the data that's out there in the market that supports this, and a total market of about 3.2 billion users is what it ultimate could be if we got everyone in the world. But then you start narrowing that down, right? How are those people in America? Okay, how are those people in America from the ages of 16 to 34 who we're going to target? Okay, now it gets a little bit lower. Now it's 88 million. All right, now then let's get to a smaller. Who are going to be those early adopters? Who's going to be the first 10,000 users on your platform, 1,000 users on your platform? And you start thinking backwards like that because now it becomes a little bit more crystal clear. We're going to go towards 16 to 34, but let's bring that even down a notch, 16 to 22, or I'm sorry, 18 to 22, and we're going to go to colleges. We're going to get friends like mine that are competitive and beta tested there. And so showing that they cared, right, and running surveys through those types of people is what I show investors. And when I show accelerators that we're applying to, because you're right, you don't want to give up too much of your baby at this stage because essentially it's the least amount of money that you're raising for the most bang for their buck as the investor. So that is something that I had to learn, right? So studying the financial projections, right? How do we get from that big number down to a realistic one? And now what does that realistic one look like over the span of a year, 3 years, 5 years? And so make it make sense, right? If you're able to prove that people care about your product, that there is a roadmap to profitability, and that you got a solid team to make this happen, that's what investors like to see.
Yeah.
And typically at this stage, they are just investing in the founder or in the team.
100%.
So that is, what I try to represent every time I speak to them. And when I'm at a showcase or I'm at a panel or I'm even just talking to you right now, is, there's certain steps that we need to hit. And Miami, Miami's in the starts in its infancy stages of this tech hub. Um, some people tell me that if I, would have launched this in New York or in Silicon Valley, I'd be in my second, fundraising round already. So there are some ups and downs, with this. But being in Miami, right, wanting to be similar to Stay Tranquilo, right, being, maybe the first, right, of Miami to represent us. And there is so much amazing talent and eyeballs in Miami, specifically in
Absolutely.
the tech space. Why not us?
Yeah.
And so that's the attitude that we have.
That's awesome. Oh yeah. So let's get into now the actual app itself, and
Oh yeah.
let's get into the nitty gritty of it. So tell me a little bit about. I download the app, right? What does the app interface look like? What can I do on it? How do I challenge other people?
Yeah.
What does that whole experience
Well,
look like?
I'll send you an exclusive link so you can check it out after this call and check it out. But it really functions a lot like what your typical social media apps would look like, right? So there is a homepage, right? There is a discover page, right? Because we want to give everyone the opportunity to showcase their talent or showcase a challenge they created. And the whole, real nitty gritty with this is, you should be able to compete against the world from your backyard, and there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to. Now you can. We have a camera. We got an app that structures these competitions in a way that makes it easy for people to join, and not only easy for people to join, but there's scale, right? Everyone who has an app can look at something that you created, and you don't even have to be the best at what you do. There are users that you can launch a challenge, a cash prize challenge, and as long as people want to join that cash prize challenge, you can make a percentage off of that by not even being the best at your own challenge. So that's the interesting angle that we're showing influencers right now. We also have brand sponsored challenges that would be on that Discover page.
Cool.
So there's a local soccer company here, for example. They're going to have the juggle challenge, and the top 10 in their challenge are going to get a free pair of cleats.
Nice.
So it helps them generate, have user generated content, target who they want to target, people that play soccer in Miami in this age group, right? But in a way that is so much more different than an ad that would have, worked for them, because that is such passive scrolling. This is an active thing that people want to participate in because, hey, might win something from it. So just because you're not going to make it pro, just because you won't make it to the NBA, you could be the best free throw shooter in the world. Just because you're not making it to the NBA, it doesn't mean that you can't compete at the highest level within a certain skill or challenge. Yeah. So to kind of wrap that part off, you can create challenges, you can join them, or even submit ideas for some, because of course at this stage we built it for people like us, right? We built it for you guys, the athletes at home, the competitors in their backyard. And even I think about my 16-year-old self, or when COVID happened, if I weren't able to play my senior year of college lacrosse, high school lacrosse, just because, what's going on out there doesn't allow you to compete. There should be nothing in the way between you and what you want to showcase or compete in. And so that's a little bit of what this app looks like. So I don't want to say there's a lot of a betting aspect, but there's ways to monetize and, get a little credit for what you do.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think the thing that intrigues me is like getting the influencers involved in this, right? So you leverage their platforms, you leverage their followings, their audience, right? Have them put a challenge on the app, and then their audience comes and challenges, their influencer, right? And I think of, I'm a big golf guy, so I think of, like the big golf influencers out there, right? You get a long drive guy say, hey, I hit my drive, 380, 400 yards. I'm gonna challenge you. Who's gonna beat me?
Yeah.
And you can incentivize it. Then you can bring a brand into that. Maybe a brand wants to be a part of it. You can give away a driver, to whoever wins that. It's cool. It's engaging.
On that note, I mean, in all in all confidence, we're not going to be able to support that type of challenge
Right.
off the bat, but it is something we're going to work
Of
towards
course.
because I know that golf is where a lot of people are
Mm-hmm.
super competitive. And actually, the Travis Scott, the Jordan, I don't know if you remember the Jordan Travis Scott golf shoes, they actually did do a driving competition.
They did, yes, I remember
and
that.
only, the best won. So clearly there is attention here. And I think, I'm starting to see a lot of that, from influencers and brands that have expressed interest in this sort of, framework. But yeah, I didn't want to, interrupt you there, but
no, I mean, it's endless at the end of the day. What type of challenges, obviously, that could be possible on an application like this. So right now in the beginning phase, it's going to be 2025 start, right? Launch.
That's right.
Download on Apple, Google Play Store,
Google
everything.
Play, yep.
And it's a free. Is it a free app or do you pay to download it?
Man. Free app. You can join free challenges. If you want to join a cash prize challenge, there's an entry fee. If you win that challenge, you take home the pot. And so sponsored challenges, right? So we have B2B aspect of our business where we're charging businesses, but at the start, we're just going to charge them based off incentives. So, if 1,000 people join, if this many people buy your product or this many people visit your website, then you pay us, right? So we want to prove ourselves because that's how much confidence we have in what we're building. But yeah, it's free, so
very cool.
Why not?
And what challenges are going to exist in the beginning?
Ooh.
Or can you say it?
I don't want to spoil too many of them, but, soccer's,
okay.
We're in Miami. We got to have the soccer lock or juggle challenge here and there. We do have, I've learned about so many different sports through this. We have highlight influencers getting involved. Spike ball's a huge one.
Spike ball's fun.
I'm learning about sports that I didn't even know about. As a fan of sports, that's been such a cool part of this. And, even just, you talk about the challenges that we're going to have. I just sent this to my buddies, just literally my closest friend group. And some of them because they went to middle school with me.
Yeah.
I just, hey, test it, guys. I want you guys to break it and just put something out there because I want to see what you think. Found out one of my closest buddies is an excellent Rubik's Cube solver. And he did it in seconds. And I was like, what the hell? So it's just I love telling that story because it's such a prime example of people having these skills. And maybe you look like a tryhard if you were to do that or bench on Instagram or on TikTok. It's like, what is this guy doing? But when you do it on a platform that is dedicated to building a community of competition and support in so many different areas and different sports, then it's natural, you know? And so that's what we're doing. So without giving too much away, just know that there's so many different ways to compete, man. See, flipping this water bottle.
There's so much shit you could do.
There's a lot we can do. And no offense to your side.
No, you're good. It is funny because I think as we also get older, the competitive side of us doesn't go away, and we will just challenge ourselves to do something stupid as hell.
Yeah,
right?
It could be challenging yourself.
Well, I'll pick up a rock and be like, I bet you can't hit that pole.
Yeah.
And then we're just there for 20 minutes, tossing rocks, just trying to hit that pole. We find ways to do any sort of competition, and we might have no sort of ball around us, no sort of hoop, no sort of anything.
Get creative.
Yeah. Which is that's fun.
Yeah, it's like you were just saying, the rock and stuff. Things about when we're kids, people that like competition and they're naturally creative whether they realize it or not. And here, just by creating something, or maybe you're not the best in the world, but you're the best in your friend group, and that's enough. Maybe you're challenging yourself, right? Trying to hold yourself accountable to a certain goal you're trying to hit. That's where it gets fun, and so I'm always excited to see what people come up with for different ideas. Maybe we'll get a Stay Tranquilo type of challenge going on. Maybe coffee involved. That's how I would imagine it, but a little cafecito in some way. But yeah, there's so many different ways to express that love for competition, and it's been alive since humans, since the beginning of time. Really, competition has been an intrinsic human value since talk about the Olympics and when it started. So that's why we like to say TikTok and the Olympics had a baby.
That's cool. I like that. So download the app. Honestly, whoever's listening, obviously be ready for the app. Not yet, but be ready for it in the beginning of the year to download the app.
That's right.
What's been your favorite memory so far in this journey of building GotGame?
Yeah, man. So that's a good question. There's been a lot of forms of validation, right? I've shown this to people I've connected with at major companies, like Nike, like even TikTok. But seeing that validation from those high school kids at Columbus when we beta tested it the first time, and seeing them like, what's going on here? Oh, I can win something. Oh, I can beat my buddy who I know that I'm way better at than this, and like seeing them like talk smack and like, kind of cheating the line so that they could compete in GotGame first. That was just like, beautiful, to see, because at the end of the day, that's what you're building. That's what I'm building this for. And so when I saw that and seeing that there was a demand for this that is untapped right now, that just gave me, that shot of cafecito in the morning every day to be like, people want this. We're the only ones doing this, and we're going to do it better than anyone else if someone else tries to do this. So like Dan Campbell said, you can knock us down, but we're going to bite a kneecap on the way up. So I feel bad for anyone who wants to be our competition right now.
Yeah, I love that. And one last question. If I'm someone that's aspiring to start something of my own, what would your advice be to that person?
Yeah, man. And this is something, we still need to give myself this, this advice, take my own advice.
Yeah, exactly.
It's if you got an idea, run it by some people. It's different when your mom says she likes the idea than maybe your friends. All right, now let's take it a step further. People in the target market. Get some feedback on it, because maybe it is a bad idea, but it's okay. It starts with that.
Yeah.
You chip it. Like, every statue looks like a piece of crap before you start chipping at it. So slowly you get some feedback here and there. Now you start picking up some skills along the way. Now you know how to maybe make some money off of this because you saw a unique insight. So I think people with ideas, people that are creative or creators, the best advice I can give, and I hate giving advice, but it would be go for it, put it out there, be humble, because chances are the first thing you throw out there is not going to be the best thing that you're capable of doing. Mm-hmm. But you owe yourself to put it out there, get some feedback, and then work on it. Be true to it. If you know it needs some work, put some work in it. Get the right people around you that share that vision, right? After you've gotten some feedback. So
I think that's solid advice. I agree.
I think nothing changes. So
yeah, because there are bad ideas out there, but like you said, if you can get some sort of validation from not maybe friends and family and really test it out, but to be able to do that, you have to actually do it. If you don't do it and you don't test it, it goes back to your point. You're probably going to live with the regret of like, what if? Mm-hmm. And I always, like, my motto is like, I'd rather go do something, fail a million times doing it, than live with the regret of not doing it.
100%.
So if you have a thought, everything begins with a thought. I remember a podcast I did years ago. I always go back to this, like, and every time I see a plane flying, like the fact that there's hundreds of people flying in an airplane across the world, that began with an idea. That was a concept that people never realized, like, maybe we can do this, right? Mm-hmm. And then someone got in a plane and they flew from here to there. And they're like, shit, we got something in the air. And then that just started the evolution of, obviously, what air traffic is today. But it began with a thought, and a thought turns into an idea turns into a concept, and a concept turns into a reality.
Right.
And if you have that idea, you have that thought, like, why not?
Put it out.
Why not?
What do you have to lose?
Exactly.
Probably.
I mean, maybe a lot, but
yeah, and it only makes sense to invest in it once you've seen it. But
it's all about what you believe in at the end of the day. And if you obviously believe in what you're doing, I obviously believe in what I'm doing, and anybody that does their craft believes in what they're doing. If they didn't, they wouldn't be doing what they're doing, right? So if you believe in it, I think it's worth every single penny.
That's right. You gotta go for it. Like, I think Twitch started as a terrible idea. It was like, it was a guy, I don't know if you know this, it was like a guy wearing like a body cam, and it was just filming him all day and what he does. That's what Twitch was.
That's
and
crazy.
Now it is
I did not know that.
Like, I don't know if it's $1 billion company.
It's probably $1 billion.
I think it might
company.
be.
Yeah.
It's one of the most valuable companies in the world. And so, it is going to start with something that is just your first piece of crap out there, and then like make it something cool, but working on it too.
So always wrap up with this question for the pod. For you, what does it mean to stay tranquilo?
What does it mean to stay tranquilo? I mean, to me, tranquilo. I mean, it makes me think of my family and what they would say to calm us down. But stay tranquilo to me means knowing yourself, trusting yourself, and working on yourself, because there's always some part of us that can be better, and we owe it to ourselves to find out what that is and put some work on it. So, tranquilo, but maybe tomorrow we get a little bit better.
Hell yeah, love that. Well, appreciate you for coming
For
on,
sure,
brother.
man. Thanks for having me on.
It's a good time, and yes, GotGame. Tell them where to find you. Let them know release date, all that fun stuff.
At GotGame.app, that is our social media. That is also our website, GotGame.app. Sign up, and you can be one of the first people like Andre here to test out the beta version, and you'll be the first ones to maybe get some free cash credits when we do cash prize challenges.
So, oh yeah, I'm excited.
Let's go, man.
Thanks again for jumping on. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll catch you guys on the next one.
Cheers, man.
Peace.